That Pakistan is the epicenter of terrorism is well known. The conspirators of both 9/11 terror attacks in New York and 26/11 terror attacks in Mumbai were traced back to Pakistan. In fact, Pakistan is home to 130 United Nations designated terrorists and 25 terrorist entities listed by the UN. What's more, Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan was an open defender of Osama bin Laden at one point. And yet, irony of ironies, the United States and the Taliban met in Pakistan today, of all places in the world, for peace talks facilitated by Islamabad.
Pakistan hosted Taliban representatives and US officials for talks today. The talks are aimed at reviving the peace talks that Washington has described as dead. The Taliban delegation was led by Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar and Mullah Omar, are co-founders of the Afghan Taliban. The US delegation is led by its Special Envoy for Afghanistan, Zalmay Khalilzad. The 5-member US delegation landed in Islamabad from China via Air China flight number CA945. The Taliban delegation will likely call on Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan, besides holding talks with the US and NATO delegations. The head of NATO forces in Afghanistan, General Austin Scott Miller, is also in the Pakistani capital. But why Pakistan? A country which India describes as the epicenter of terrorism should be the most unlikely place for quote-unquote peace talks. For one, it reinforces the close linkages that exist between Pakistan and the Afghan Taliban. A Pakistani media report said that the Taliban planned to follow up on Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan's recent comments ahead of his meeting with Trump in New York that he would try to convince the US president to resume the talks. Also, circumstances may have dictated the choice of venue. The talks between the Taliban and the United States were called off on 7th September, after Trump himself announced it on Twitter. Trump took the decision after a US soldier and 11 other people were killed in a Taliban bomb attack in Kabul. Since then, there have not been any contact between the two sides. The two sides have held 9 rounds of talks, all in Qatar's capital, Doha. Since resumption of the talks in Doha is not an option, the next best alternative was for both sides to meet in another third country. The talks in Pakistan are being seen as a part of a series of such meetings that have either been held or would be held over the next few weeks. In the last few weeks, a Taliban delegation has visited China, Russia and Iran. In New York, US Special Envoy for Afghanistan, Zalmay Khalilzad, called on Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan on the margins of the United Nations General Assembly session. In the days ahead, Imran Khan will travel to China. He will be in Beijing as early as next week. That would be followed by a meeting of the Special Envoys of Russia, China and the US to be hosted by Russia. A Russian media report cited the country's Special Envoy for Afghanistan, Zamir Kubilov, as saying that Moscow was making efforts to host the expanded Troika meeting on Afghan peace in October, amid indications that Pakistan would be invited to the meeting too. But if the past is any indicator, Pakistan's complicity and duplicity risks unraveling of the Afghan peace talks. Bureau Report, Wion, World is One.